Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Shera, and that's Justin Ritzel. Justin, first, I want to say thanks for running the controls today. You're doing a great job so far. Appreciate it. And the reason why Justin is running the controls, if you weren't here last week, our compadre Robert Harding is a father. Congratulations, Robert and Sarah, on the birth of your daughter Layla on Monday. What can you say? It's like the coolest thing in the world to become a dad, to become a parent, and we're thrilled for Robert and Sarah, Justin, obviously, and the baby's healthy. Sarah's doing well. They went home from the hospital today, so as a result, Robert will be out for 4 weeks. Oh, 4 wonderful weeks. No Harding. Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah, we're all used to the summer of Shira, obviously.
Yeah.
Robert's never shy about bringing that up. But it's the winter of Harding, and yeah, congrats to Robert, congrats to Sarah. I texted him, the following morning after his daughter was born, and I had on good sources that Robert swiped the birth certificate and wrote down under the name Josh Allen Harding, and he corrected me to say Stefan Diggs Harding was his daughter's name. Obviously, that's not her actual name. Her name's Layla. Great name. I believe Robert said that's directly after the Eric Clapton song, right? Am I misremembering that? So
no, you are correct, sir.
Yeah. So congrats to the Harding. Obviously, we'll miss Robert doing the video, but we'll hold down the fort and we'll try to make some picks. And hey, maybe we'll all have better luck with only the two of us on the video.
Yeah, well, no kidding. We do have Robert's picks. He did email them to me, so I do have them. But we'll do a quick little recap. We all went 2-2 last week, which actually is not too shabby considering how crazy a week it was for upsets in the NFL. I was in Pennsylvania last weekend visiting my daughter in Philadelphia, and I had one of the online mobile sports apps on my phone open, and I was looking at some bets, and I decided, I better not. I don't, better not do it. And I'm glad I didn't because I would have lost. It was a crazy weekend for upsets. We all went 2-2, which I guess is pretty respectable. So far for the season, I am 17-18. Robert is 15 and let's see here. 15 and 20, 15 and 20, I believe, because he would be 2. Yep. And then you are 12 and 23. So, yeah, it's not been the best of years for us. So let's get right to it. Our first game, the New Orleans Saints, surprising people left and right without Jameis Winston. They're playing at Tennessee. Tennessee coming off a shocking surprise themselves, going into LA and really putting a beating on the Rams. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that one coming, especially, without Derrick Henry. I think everybody was pretty surprised that the Titans could be competitive and actually dominant. And obviously, I think a lot of it had to do with their defense. I think that if you're a contender and you lose an offensive weapon like Henry, you have a good enough defense to compensate to help out your offense. And they sure made a statement. So Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite over New Orleans. And I think you can kind of tell where I'm leaning. I'm going with the Titans to cover the 2.5. It's a home game for them. New Orleans, again, I think the lack of a quarterback, high quality quarterback is going to catch up to them eventually. But still, I think it's going to be a close game, but I like that it's only 2.5. I like Tennessee to cover the 2.5. Robert also likes Tennessee to cover the 2.5. So go ahead, Justin. Who do you like?
Well, I guess you might as well make it a clean sweep. I'm also going to take the Titans. What's strange about them is, I think you could have easily buried them after the Derrick Henry injury because he's the guy that makes it go, really more so than any offensive player, non-quarterback, obviously, but any skill position player. He's probably the most important guy to his specific team. And obviously the Titans didn't, go up and down the field against the Rams. Matt Stafford just had 2 absolutely terrible decisions on his 2 interceptions. So Stafford's play helped the Titans out quite a bit. Basically, he gave them, one was a pick 6 and one was basically a pick 6. I think the Titans guy got tackled within the 5-yard line. So But the Titans defense is no joke. Like that's kind of one of the big surprises of this season is their defense was pitiful last year.
Yeah.
Now it's a top 5 unit. And you're telling me that at home against Trevor Simeon and Taysom Hill that I should be worried? I don't think so. I would take this. I'd take the Titans if this was 4.5 points. So I think we're getting 2 free points here, and that's why I'll go with the Titans to win this one, obviously by 3 or more.
Our next game, the Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots. New England's a 1.5 favorite. Cleveland showing that addition by subtraction, getting Odell Beckham Jr. Was pretty smart because it seems like that the team played pretty darn good. They just absolutely walloped the Bengals last week. The Patriots, I mean, you got to give Bill Belichick credit. He always finds a way to keep the Patriots in the hunt. I think they were 1-3. Now they're 5-4. They've really have stepped up. Mac Jones is developing, although I wouldn't, say that he's the main reason why they're winning. I think New England's defense is the main reason why they're winning. But I hate to use the recency bias thing, but I think Cleveland is the hotter team. I think on paper, Cleveland is the better team. I mean, it's a 1.5 for New England. I think Cleveland wins the game overall. So I think obviously they're going to cover, and I'm going with the Browns on the road in the Bill Belichick revenge game, because maybe you don't remember, but Bill Belichick used to coach the Browns back in the early 90s. And, he had them going places when the move got announced to Baltimore and everything went to heck. And Bill Belichick was dumped, which was one of the biggest mistakes that the Baltimore before Cleveland franchises ever made. So, and Robert also is picking the Browns to cover. So go ahead, Justin.
Well, we're not going to have a clean sweep this time. The thing with the Browns is they're going to be down to their third string running back. Kareem Hunt's on IR. Nick Chubb, I don't know if it's been made official yet or not, but he looks at least unlikely to play. And obviously, the running game is kind of key to what they do. I've said all year, like the AFC has totally kicked my butt in terms of these picks all year. I never get the AFC games right. And this is just another one of those games where it's setting up for me to be wrong, but I'll take the Patriots. I think, not that they have a bunch of like impressive wins on their schedule. They beat the Jets twice, beat the Panthers last week. Like those are not good teams. But they did hang with the Cowboys, ultimately lost in overtime. They hung with the Buccaneers, lost by 2 or 3 points in that game about a month ago in the Brady returns game. So I think they're good enough to hang with any team in the AFC. Maybe their ceiling isn't as high because they have a young quarterback and they're still a little limited on offense. But I guess I just trust that defense is going to play sound, and Bill Belichick is, worth a few points. And I don't really trust the Browns. I've been saying it all year. Like they've been proving me wrong every time I pick against them, but I just don't see it. So they're down a couple running backs. They're on the road. So I'll go with Bill Belichick and follow his revenge narrative here. I'll take the Patriots.
All right. Our next game, the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Chargers. By the way, it's kind of weird just naturally saying Los Angeles Chargers and not screwing up and saying San Diego. I guess it's been a few years now that we're used to it. The Chargers are 3-point favorites at home against the Vikings. Vikings looked good against the Ravens early last week, and then, as Robert would say, and lost that game. I'm going to notice Minnesota's on the road 2 weeks in a row, going to the East Coast last week and now to the West Coast. I'm kind of curious how the traveling affects them late in the game, but I think the Chargers are the better team. I think the Chargers know that, the AFC West could be theirs. This is really anybody's division. It seems like nobody wants it. The Chiefs, the Raiders, even the Broncos are I think we have almost like a 4-way tie, if I can remember correctly, for the AFC West. So really, this is anybody's division. I think the Chargers are the team that, if you look at them on paper, this team should win this division if you look at both sides of the football, offense and defense. So I think the Chargers cover the -3 and beat the Vikings. Robert agrees with me. He likes the Chargers too to cover the -3. Go ahead, Justin.
these are two teams that come up in our video often, and I pick them both more often than not. And more often than not, they don't come through for me. I say it with the Vikings every week when they're on the video, but they and they did cover last week against the Ravens. That was a 3-point game. As you mentioned, Chris, the Vikings coughed up a huge lead in that game, but they're just a hard team to trust, the Vikings, and so are the Chargers. So this is one of those games again. Like, I just throw my arms up and say, I don't know. These teams tend to have stinkers. One thing about the Vikings that I think is worth considering is Dalvin Cook has kind of came out last night. He's got a very serious legal situation going on involving an ex-girlfriend. As of right now, he is expecting to play, but who knows how that situation is going to evolve. Obviously, he's a very important player on that offense. Stuff like that, just gives me bad juju when you have, distractions going on with the team. You saw that, obviously, apples to oranges situation, but you saw that with my Packers this week. They didn't have a great game. And I wonder if all the Aaron Rodgers drama, I said I wasn't going to bring him up. I didn't want to talk about him this week, but you just wonder when you have off-field stuff going on with one of your best players, how much that impacts your team, kind of focusing on the task at hand, which is winning football games. I don't know if the Vikings are necessarily a mentally tough team, so I guess I'll take the Chargers at home. But I think this line is spot on. It wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being a 3-point Chargers win.
Yeah. Our last game, I always love this. Kansas City at the Vegas Raiders. Kansas City plus 2.5 point favorites. Justin, I know you and the Chiefs have a history. It's hilarious. I mean, if you follow the Chiefs, you know that they have a hard time covering the spread. And I actually looked at it, our records here. Our record of the games that we've picked. This is the 7th time that we've had a Chiefs game in our picks. So in 10 weeks, the Chiefs have appeared 7 times. Now, I haven't gone back and looked at the records, how we've all done with the Chiefs games, but I guess it shows you the Chiefs are always playing some of the best teams, or they have some of the best matchups every week. That's why they keep getting picked. And of course, usually we try to find the games that are the tightest for the point spreads, what we think are the best matchups. So that's why we went with. I did pick the games this week. So Kansas City's a 2.5 point favorite at the Raiders. Robert is picking the Raiders, so we'll state that right off the bat. I have to admit, I waffled on this game a little bit. The Raiders, as you said, like you kind of mentioned with the Chargers, the Vikings game, that there's a lot of off the field stuff going on with the Raiders. It's just insane that this team is, what's been going on with them this year. I don't think how many times an NFL team has had this many off the field. I don't want to say distractions because it's kind of an insult, but off the field issues between the coach and players and everything else going on. And I think there's only so much that a team can tune out before it starts to affect them. So, I'll use the cliches. Robert's not here. He'd make fun of me, but I'm going to use the cliches. It's a division game. Okay. The teams know each other. I like the Chiefs to cover the 2.5, go on the road and beat the Raiders. They'll cover the 2.5. I think they'll win easily in this game. The Chiefs know that they've got to start winning some games. And yes, their defense is flawed. Yes, Patrick Mahomes has not played that well this year. I think you can make the argument this is probably the worst year that he's had since he's become the Chiefs starter. But I think the Chiefs, the familiarity with the Raiders helps. The Raiders' distractions hurt. I like the Chiefs to cover the 2.5 and beat the Raiders. Go ahead, Justin.
Chris, I said 2 weeks ago, I'm never picking the Chiefs again. And they've given me no reason to change my mind. They couldn't even cover against Jordan Love. Okay. It's plain and simple. They were at home against Jordan Love and they still could not cover. They were gifted, basically a free touchdown because of Packers special teams gaffe. So they get those points. Excuse me, they didn't. I don't think they scored a touchdown, but they were gifted 3 points off a Packers special teams error. The Packers missed 2 field goals. Really, you can make a case that the Packers should have won that game, not only outright, but, by 3-4 points even. The Chiefs are not a good football team. They're 5-4, but I was so unimpressed with them. I think the Packers defense is improving and better than maybe advertised. But Patrick Mahomes just straight up missed plays that were easy plays that were there to be made, and their receivers, Travis Kelce doesn't really, he seems almost, I almost hesitate to say this, but he seems like disinterested. Like the throw is not on the money and he, drops it or whatever. And he just kind of, looks up in the sky and whatever, Tyreek Hill was kind of invisible until the final play of the game last week. So I don't know what's going on with the Chiefs. I don't want to sit here, banging the drum saying, oh, I was right about these guys. Like stop anointing them as the next NFL dynasty. But, hey, that's kind of the why I was hesitant, is because things change quickly in the NFL, and the Chiefs are just not the same team they were the last few years. And as we've said kind of ad nauseum, they kind of showed signs of this towards the end of last year, that their offense just wasn't quite as dynamic. And I think the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl just kind of broke them. And they're still trying to figure out how to get out of that rut. I don't know if Mahomes is hurt. Could just be a mental thing. I've seen that, a couple times over other great quarterbacks' careers, where you just kind of have one terrible game and it really throws you for a season. So we'll see, but I'm sticking with my word. I'm not picking the Chiefs. I think the Raiders are, the Henry Ruggs stuff obviously is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not going to debate that at all. It's just a terrible situation. Rest in peace to the victim who died in that fatal car crash. But from a football standpoint, he was important to what they do, being a field spreader, and they haven't had that the last couple weeks. So they signed Deshaun Jackson. I'm not going to say that a 37-year-old receiver is going to come in and save the day, but at least he can replicate kind of how Ruggs was used, and maybe that opens things up for them on offense. Keep in mind, the Raiders were one of the teams last year that beat the Chiefs and also gave them a run for their money in their second matchup. So I think the Raiders know how to beat the Chiefs, so I'm not afraid of this line. I'll take the Raiders. Never pick the Chiefs ever again. That's my stance.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I mean, remember the Raiders did cut another, 2020 first round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I just think that all these off the field issues are eventually going to catch up with the Raiders. And I think this is the week that does it. And like I said, playing against a division opponent, a Chiefs team that desperately needs a win, I think it does catch up to them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So, all right. We got one more topic we're going to talk. We're going to discuss baseball real quickly, because that's what you do in November. But the Mets yesterday, Sandy Alderson, who's the president of the Mets, said that the team is having a hard time hiring a new general manager because candidates are leery of the New York market. And I saw this and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, first of all, if you're a candidate for a baseball general manager's position, obviously you've been in the game for a long time. You've probably worked for different organizations over the years, working your way up the so-called corporate ladder. You would want to work in New York. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, yes, there's media pressure. Okay, absolutely. There's more media pressure in New York than any other market in the country. No doubt about that. But guess what? It's not the Yankees. It's the Mets. Okay. The two different teams. Obviously, the Yankees have the tradition and everything and the pinstripes, and the Mets are always been seen as the second banana of New York baseball. So right there's a little less pressure than you may think. Okay. Second, you've got an owner now in Cohen, Stephen Cohen, who's got money coming everywhere. I mean, this is a guy that Bobby Axelrod was supposedly modeled off of on Billions, which is Robert and I is one of our favorite shows. So you've got an owner who's not afraid to spend money. you're playing in the top media market in the country where, I remember when Reggie Jackson once said, if I came to New York, they'd name a candy bar after me. And lo and behold, we had the Reggie bar. I don't know if you've ever tried one of those, Justin. They don't make them anymore, but I had a few back in the day. They were good.
Never heard of them.
Like a Baby Ruth, but it was like squished like a round patty. Google it, Reggie bar. It was actually pretty good. But anyways, I don't know what is going on with baseball nowadays, that you have candidates or people that, want to be, that, supposedly front office people that don't want to be the general manager of the New York Mets. It just blows me away. I mean, come on, get people. Let's show some courage here. Let's show some fortitude. I mean, I can't believe that nobody would want this job. I mean, if you're going to have a honeymoon period, no one's going to expect you to do really well the first year or two. You're going to get about a 3-year honeymoon before you have to start showing some results. It just blows me away that nobody wants this job, basically, because it's in New York. Justin, what do you think about this?
I mean, I don't want to outright dismiss that. We've seen it with players. Players. Some guys are attracted to the big stage of New York City, and some guys aren't. Like, hey, Shohei Ohtani specifically did not want to play in New York because he didn't want to play in that market. So I don't think you can outright dismiss it. I would say, I think the owner, despite the fact that he's obviously a big spender, I do wonder if GMs, potential GMs are turned off by his, him just being out there, being very vocal. You never know if the team has a rough stretch and he's going to log on to Twitter and just rip the roster to shreds. Obviously I'm a reporter. I'm not involved in baseball operations. I would see this as a extremely fun challenge to take a team like the Mets that really should be year in and year out a competitive team. You have every resource available to you, whether it be money or what have you. And I don't see why guys wouldn't want to do this. Remember, there's only 30 of these jobs available, and they don't come open every single year. So we'll see. I think the Mets are obviously a team that's in a bit of a transition. They had multiple general managers in place over the last year. One of them was dismissed because of, sexually explicit text messages, inappropriate workplace conduct. And then his temporary replacement was drunk driving and ultimately got dismissed because of that. So there is some bad juju with the Mets, but all in all, it seems like a good gig. They do have some talent. Let's not forget Jake DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. Yeah. It's not some roster that doesn't have talent. They need to add hitting.
Pete Alonso is still a pretty good player.
Yeah, I mean,
he is not even was. I mean, he is a very good player.
Yeah, so it's not like a complete rebuild there. They need to, kind of shore up some positions, and we'll see what happens. The Mets job seems to me like the perfect spot for someone like Theo Epstein, who has a history in these big markets, is not afraid of the big markets, and is one of those guys, like I said, that obviously is open to the challenge. Now, the thing with Theo Epstein is he's working with Major League Baseball to improve, kind of the state of Major League Baseball in terms of rules and stuff like that. So would the Mets opening, I don't even think he'd come in and be like a general manager. He'd be more in the Sandy Alderson role, kind of overseeing everything. But I wonder if the Mets have tried contacting him, because I think he'd be kind of the perfect person to right the ship over in New York. But, who knows?
Well, there were rumors that he could have had the job. I think the Mets would have loved to have had him. I think what's going to come down to for Theo Epstein is that any job that he takes is going to be involving a piece of ownership. I mean, what this guy has done, his track record with the Red Sox and the Cubs, is nothing short of astounding, Hall of Fame worthy, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So I think for this guy's next gig, there's going to have to be a piece of ownership on the table, major money to get this guy to come. So, and the Mets, I mean, maybe they discussed it with him and they just decided, nope, I don't want to be here. I'm sure he's probably thinking of some other gigs he might want, or he might want to stay with that other job that he's doing right now, like you just mentioned, the rules and everything, improving the game. So, but there has to be somebody out there. There has to be a candidate, a person who would be willing to do this job. I mean, it just blows me away that, like you said, there's only 30 of these. How there has to be someone working for a team in Major League Baseball in a front office who wants to be a GM, who would be like literally killing for this job. I mean, there's never going to be a perfect job. You're either going to have an overbearing owner or an owner that doesn't have a lot of money to provide you with, with the asset. And look at the Rays. I mean, Tampa Bay Rays, I mean, what they've done the last 10 years is a magic act. I mean, they're contenders almost every year, considering that they can't hold on to any of their players after they reach free agency. So, I mean, you can work in certain environments and succeed, but you've got to be the right person. And again, it'd be great to see somebody come out and say, hire me. I want the Mets job, and see what happens. Like I said, it's just, you scratch your head over how could this be a major league franchise unable to hire a general manager because supposedly the market is scaring people off.
Keep in mind the Mets also have not only a GM opening but a manager opening.
Yes.
I do wonder if part of the holdup and why maybe they're not getting as much interest as they would think is, are they unwilling to give the GM like full say in who he hires as manager?
Yeah.
He or she hires as manager. That hasn't been reported anywhere. That's just kind of me, taking a shot in the dark. But when you're looking for explanations and they have a managerial opening, and you have like I said, an outspoken owner who might want one specific guy to be a manager. Who knows? It's a weird situation. You wouldn't think the Mets would have this kind of trouble, but they're a weird franchise. So
yeah, they've no doubt about it. And that's a great point, Justin, that maybe the manager is the sticking point for some candidates. So, all right. Anything else you want to add, sir?
No, hopefully this first round without Robert went smoothly. No technical difficulties. I guess we'll see on the playback, but
yeah,
not bad.
No. And, Robert, if you're watching this, or, hopefully you're, getting some sleep when you can, because a baby, anybody who's had a baby will tell you that the first month is crazy because you're not getting much sleep. You're gonna be up all hours of the night, and there's feedings, and then pretty soon there'll be diaper changes, and I look back at, I did it twice, and my two daughters, they're both alive and well. They survived my fatherhood skills the first few months of their lives, and they lived to tell the tale of it. Oh, they don't remember it really, which maybe is not a bad thing, but it's fun. It's an amazing time. It's a special time. And for, like I said, Robert and Sarah, congratulations. We're so happy for both of you and baby Layla. And my wife and my daughters just want to keep seeing more baby pictures as soon as they can, and hopefully we'll get the visit pretty soon too. So, all right, Justin, thank you for manning the controls, and folks, thanks for watching, and hopefully we will see you next week.